So we were invited to the screening of the new slasher Valentine's Day movie Heart Eyes,
Yes.
which, yes, please bring back the slasher. We have been missing it in the theater. Most slashers seem to go straight to video, straight to VOD these days, but the big slasher, on the big screen,
It's fun. It's a
definitely
really
needs to make a
yes.
comeback. So yes, more of this, please. This is the newest film from Josh Rubin, who last worked on Werewolves Within, at least the last thing I cared about. And this was co-written by Christopher Landon. Funny enough, we just rewatched the Happy Death Day movies with
Yeah.
the kids, so that was good timing for that. I didn't even realize he had worked on this as a co-writer, but after having seen it now, that makes sense.
Mhm.
This is about a killer named the Heart Eyes Killer who goes around on Valentine's Day and kills unlucky couples.
Mhm.
We have a new uh, target. We have this girl that is played by Olivia Holt,
Mhm.
and she works for this company, and things are not going so well. So she gets paired up with this guy that's going to come in and save the day, and some romance starts brewing between them, and because of that, they become the new targets for the hard-eyed killer, and they have to avoid the
Avoid the
slaughtering.
death.
Yeah, let's avoid the death. Okay, so I'll say this for sure. Number one, the girl behind us enjoyed this movie more than I've ever enjoyed any movie in my entire life by like 5 times over. We had a very, very loud person. Now, it was, they were very into it, so that's
Yes.
great. I'm happy, but literally every single line that she liked, which was every other line in the movie, she would then repeat out loud, verbatim, and laugh at herself, laughing and screaming laughter and screaming stuff at the characters. So let me tell you, she was loving it.
Our whole
The
crowd
whole
was
crowd
really
was
loving
enjoying
it.
it, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen someone love a movie that much. But yeah, this is definitely a romantic comedy disguised as a slasher film,
Yes.
right? You have the framework of a slasher, and the marriage of that with the framework of a romantic comedy. So for someone who, so for some people who really want like a traditional hardcore
Mm.
slasher, and for it to be more serious, they might be very disappointed because this is comedy heavy.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but all the comedy for the most part worked for me. It for sure all worked for the girl behind us. But most of it worked pretty well for me. The only real downside for the movie for me, is, I would have liked to have seen more on-screen kills.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the movie isn't as gory as I would have hoped,
Mm.
but there are some good kills. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was really entertaining. I definitely found it to be funny, and I think that like I agree with you about the kills, and I was a little, I suppose, disappointed in the killer, like in the
Reveal.
reveal that happens.
Mhm.
But overall, I think it does work for the film and like the story that's being told. So I don't have like a huge complaint for it. And ultimately, I think that this is the kind of film that could potentially spawn a franchise if the interest was there. Um, but yeah, I think that the chemistry between the two leads is really good. There's some really cute stuff, and very like all of the humor and gags are kind of centered around like romance and couples themed
Yeah.
things, and it works really well. So I think that this is like going to be a very fun movie for people to watch around Valentine's Day, annually, and it was really entertaining overall.
There is a joke or an attempt at some form of humor every like 10 to 15 seconds of the film. Like it really goes heavy comedy.
Yeah, very, very
And
much comedy.
we saw this in a packed theater.
Hmm.
You know, I think almost every seat was sold out. And the audience was really, really into it. There was a lot of laughter, a lot of screams, a lot of just everyone having a great
Yeah.
time. So I think for the most part, this will be a pretty big hit. I
Hmm.
just, once again, I want to overemphasize here that for the slasher aholics that want a more brutal, more serious, or even like grounded, because this is kind of check your brain at the door.
Mm.
There's a lot of like movie logic
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
stuff. The reveal of the killer is very classic, like, heavy exposition dump kind of moments of like, this is why, and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty unnecessarily, but regardless, it is a very fun film. You have the male character in here is Chad from Scream 5
Yeah.
and
One of the
6 and
core four.
7, I guess now. Alongside of what we heard is Matthew Lillard. I haven't looked into that news yet, but I guess Matthew Lillard is returning, as well as Roman from Scream 3. So, well, anyway, but speaking of Scream, and then other people that we noticed in here that are play, bigger-ish roles, as Jordana Brewster, as well as Devon Sawa,
Yeah.
some other horror alums there
Mhm.
that have done a decent amount of horror. Devon, especially.
Definitely.
So it's cool to see him. But yeah, as far as the kills go, the film has a real weight to it. The killer uses some very hefty killing tools, and even if things aren't on screen, there's definitely like a heavy weight to them every time they
Mm.
happen. Or that's just like, I don't know, everything feels brutal,
It does.
but
Yeah.
you'll have to fill in your imagination on probably, you know 85% of it. There is a good amount of killing,
Hmm.
and we do see some,
We
and
do.
some are great. I don't There's probably only one that I would really say was like really good, and then there's
Mm.
some gore gags that are quite good.
Yes. Yeah.
um I don't know. I guess the more I'm thinking about it, you probably see 5 or 6 on-screen deaths, which is
Mm.
probably pretty good. um it's just that when you have a body count of like 25, 30,
Sure. You want to see
you want to
a little
see
bit
a higher
more.
percentage than that. But
Yeah.
we're gorehounds, and also there, it could be killing the mood of the comedy,
I think it
to
would.
do that, to constantly overload the audience with these excessive gory graphic kills. And then of course,
Oh, I don't
obviously,
know.
uh you always have to deal with a rating board. So it is
Yeah.
possible that this movie has a unrated cut, because I can
Mm.
absolutely see a good amount of these kills having an on-screen death, and them just cutting it out because they couldn't make an R rating.
Mm.
So,
Perhaps that
fingers
might have been what
crossed
happened.
for a director's cut, unrated cut. That would be awesome. That would
Yeah.
that would amplify this film for me for sure. But very funny, very enjoyable, and absolutely will be in rotation for the Valentine slashers. I know there's not a ton of them. I covered, I think, every single one there is that I'm aware of on the channel. I think there's only maybe like 5 or 6 that I'm familiar with, and this will be added, much like Thanksgiving was last year. This will be another Valentine slasher that I think people are really going to gravitate towards for this holiday. But it is very much like a not well, like a Lifetime kind of um, rom com.
Yeah.
That is how it plays out, and then it just so happens there's a slasher villain coming after them,
Yeah. It has like some mismatched blending of genres in there.
which is fun.
It is fun. It plays on those tropes really well.
Which makes perfect sense. It's a Valentine's Day film.
Yes.
You had compared it to something. I definitely don't think it's a similar film, but I completely understand the
The
comparison
vibe reminded me of it, but yeah.
of the Adult Swim Yule Log 2 branching
Just
out.
like,
It makes
yeah.
sense.
Just a little bit, because there are some very, as you said, like movie logic and things are just very tropey, and but in a good way and in a very entertaining way.
Yeah,
So
blended subgenres that typically are
not.
diametrically
Yes.
opposed.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
was good stuff.
As far as the killers look, I mean, you see the killer in the trailer. They don't hide them. You
Yeah.
pretty much get a gist of the killer. But yeah, it very
It's
very
memorable and pretty unique, I would say.
yeah. It's
So
a
it's a
cool
cool,
mask
very cool
for
look.
the Valentine's
Yeah.
Day,
Yeah.
and the movie is just here to have fun. It is
Definitely.
pure fun from beginning to end. And if this is your brand of humor, you're probably going to be laughing throughout.
Yeah.
If you haven't laughed in the first 15 minutes, oh boy, you're
The rest of the
probably not
film,
going to laugh at
is
all.
like that. So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a very good time.
I did
And
too.
you know, despite the hyena behind us
I'm
who
glad
was
that
going to
they
town.
enjoyed it so
No,
much.
I'm just kidding.
Too.
They had a great time.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's just I wish that they could have kept their commentary to themselves and just enjoyed the film and laughed and had a good time. But the words could have been diminished a bit. But anyway, yeah. So this comes out in a week
Yeah.
on February the 7th. You would think that this would be Valentine's
Pretty close
Day.
to Valentine's Day, just in time for it, so you can plan your dates and everything.
I think it's smart though because they get the like initial release push,
Yes.
and then the next week it's Valentine's,
Yeah,
and then they
exactly.
get a second week push.
Yeah.
So I think it makes perfect sense. But they have some really heavy hitters coming out on Valentine's Day as well, and they probably didn't want to go up against Captain America and Paddington.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we will be seeing Companion tomorrow.
Yes.
For any of those of you, any of those,
Any of those? Any
Does that
of
work?
you?
Any of you that are wondering why we
Yeah.
didn't go see that one? That one did come out tonight as well, but we couldn't get to it. We had
Yeah.
to go to the screening instead. Stoked to have this movie come out a full week early.
Yeah, it was really cool to get to see it early.
And also for the embargo to lift so soon, which
Mm.
gives me the indication that they have a lot of faith.
Yeah, I think it's well placed. I think
And
this will be a pretty big crowd pleaser.
I agree.
Yeah. So
So get
definitely
your
check
tickets.
it out. Yeah.
1 week from today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys tomorrow for Companion.
Yep. We'll see you there.
Bye.